Welcome everyone. Welcome everybody. Welcome everybody. Welcome to the Psychology of Money Coaching Program Open Sessions. I am here today. One second. Just figure out the instead giving me some. Okay. Welcome everybody. Hello. I'm here as part of the Psychology of Money Coaching Program. I'm giving you an open live session today on how to connect your financial goals with your inner values. My name is Lana. Shalom. I am a certified Psychology of Money trainer and facilitator. And I'm here today to talk to you about the program. That program starts tomorrow. It's called Psychology of Money. And I'm inviting everybody to participate, everybody to take part and be a part of this really, truly amazing program. The Psychology of Money program, I made another open session this past, I believe, Monday. And I'm inviting everybody to look at it, where I spoke about the program in details. Those of you on Instagram, I was not able to go live, and there was a whole presentation. So I'm inviting you to watch the video on YouTube. Those of you on Facebook also, welcome to watch the video on YouTube as well. If you're not able to access it or find it anywhere on my Facebook profile, you're welcome to find it at my YouTube channel called Lana. Shalom. Welcome. Let's talk today about something that we call inner values, or something we call how to connect. How do you make sure that your financial goals will come true, okay? And one of the important rules, besides the fact that it should be a strategy, besides the fact that we talked about it on Monday, that you need to formulate the question correctly, one of the important ways to make sure your goal will come true is to connect it to your inner values. Let's talk about inner values today. That's what I'm here. Let's discuss, let's see how we can figure out what our inner values are, and more further than that, connected to our financial goals. Okay, give me a second. Those of you on Facebook, hello. Glad to see you. There you go. Just want to make sure that I am able to see you. Okay. Okay. Let's do this. Okay, let's discuss what the inner values are. Let's start talking about what they are. How do we discuss it? How do we discover them? How do we find out what our core values, something we refer to as core values, or our inner values, okay? Our core or inner values always get fulfilled. The whole life, everything and anything we do in our life is about fulfilling our values, making sure the values that we set up for ourselves actually come true. Now, the values that we set up for ourselves actually happens to be a part of our system, a part of who we are, two ways. Okay, one way was done during birth, when we were born, when we were babies, when we were children. Our parents or our caregivers gave us certain rules and certain understanding about how the world functions. And that was one of the way how we formed values. Now, values can be two ways, right? Like I mentioned, one part of values that we have are kind of given values, the values that we acquire from others around us. And again, that happens during childhood. That happens mostly with our parents, family values, our caregivers, right? Whatever values they give us, we acquire it and we make it a part of who we are, a part of our kind of mission in life, a part of our soul's understanding, or our soul's kind of mission, connecting our values with our soul mission. But remember, values are not just soul's mission, but it's also subconscious / I would even say like somewhat borderline conscious, ideas, right? It's a mental function, okay? So everything we do in life happen to be, we need to bring our values in life, okay? Our soul's mission in this world is to bring values to life. So it's very important to understand what are our values, what is our life is about. Everything we do, no matter what goals we set for ourselves, if they go against our values, they will not come true, okay? There will happen to be, that's how blocks and inhibitions come out. So, so one part of our inner or core values happen to be acquired values, values we acquire as children, right? You probably still remember, maybe if you go down the memory lane, right? You will remember certain things or certain ideas, certain movies, certain books that you enjoyed reading that were given to you by your parents, right? By your caregivers, maybe grandparents, people who were significant to you when you were growing up. Now we have another set of values, okay? Another set of values that we have are values that we kind of form, right? As we were growing up, remember, first it was our parents, caregivers, then we went to school, so it's our teachers, our society, right? The social environment kind of told us about certain values that we felt the need to kind of acquire, we felt the need to take. Why? Because again, we were children. That's how children work, right? Children are tabula rasa, right? As John Locke said at one point, right? Which means they acquire, they're kind of a blank slate, and they acquire, they take everything that's given to them. They kind of take it in like a sponge, so to say, right? Now, as we're growing up, especially during teenage years, right? This is a part of separation. When we start separating from our parents, we start separating from maybe certain values they give us, we start questioning and maybe opposing certain social dogmas and social values that are given to us, right? And we start forming our own ideas. We start forming our own opinions. What do we believe in? Do we really believe in it? Do we agree with this point of view, right? Do we agree what happens around us? So teenage years are very important to start separating yourself from what was given to you and start reevaluating and forming your own set of values, your own understanding of how the world works, why you do certain things or why you don't do certain things, and what do you believe in? What would you like to set your new values? Remember, values is how we live our life. Values is what our soul's mission in life is, okay? So everything we do will have to be according with our values. So whatever values we set for ourselves during teenage years. Now remember, different people go through teenage years differently, right? Some people separate quite early, right? We know those children, teenagers when they're 8 and 9, right? Some children separate later, right? Some teenagers have a late separation, right? My oldest daughter, she was a teenager, like I said, when she was 8 and 9, right? She was like she was a teenager when she was 2, I would say, right? But, and my son, who's a year younger, he was quite the opposite. He became a teenager, like he started separating, undergoing all the teenage, signs, all the necessary components of being a teenager. And by that, in this case, I specifically mean separation, much later, when he was 17, 18, right? When he graduated school, the last year of school, when he was going to college, right? That was more of separation for him stage, right? So different children, different teenagers go through different stages at a different time, right? Now, average development of teenagers, like I said, it's around 13, exactly when we start the teen years, right? 13, 14, right? Hormonal development, right? Passing through the element of fire, right? Through the element of emotional upheaval, right? Being very emotional, being very passionate about something and letting you know about it, right? Not holding anything back. And that's how it's supposed to be. And it's important to start understanding that children who don't go through teenage years, they will retain the values of their parents much longer. It will take them longer to take the values and reevaluate and form new values. It's interesting to know that most of us, let's say people my age, let's say 30s, 40s, they have a different upbringing, right? We are in the age where we talk more about child development, where we talk more about how children should be developed, how children should be reared, how do we treat children, not just teenagers, but children since a very early age, right? We don't just talk about Piaget's development, which was in the 60s. Jean Piaget was a famous child developmental psychologist. But we also bring in ideas from, let's say, Stanislav Grof, right? We start thinking about the fact that the human development doesn't start from birth, but it actually starts in the womb as soon as the person becomes pregnant, right? As soon as the woman becomes pregnant with the baby's development, the human development of the baby starts back then, okay? So we become more aware, but however, we need to keep in mind that most of the time, our parents were not so, excuse me, I still have some cough left over. We're not so open to this kind of information, did not have this available. We're not treated that way by their own parents. We're not reared that way. So as a result, most of us grow up in a more disciplinarian, right? More stricter upbringing, right? Again, I'm going to say most of it because I know I personally know a few people who had an amazing upbringing. But again, people of my generation, people of our generation, right? Older, maybe a bit younger. I'm 45, I'm not gonna make a secret out of it, right? But people maybe a bit lower than my generation, but I mean, a bit younger than me, but even then, their parents did not have such an open understanding of how children or childhood works, right? So as a result, most of us did not undergo the teenage years with the correct separation process. Meaning when we argue with our parents, when we try to reject their values, why? Not because we don't love them, of course we love them, but it's an idea of rejection first in order to form your own, right? If you happen to drink, if you take a cup and pour yourself juice, right? And let's say if you take a cup that the juice was given into it, right? You were given a cup of juice, you drink the juice without rinsing the cup. If you pour water into it, the water will be contaminated with little with little drops of juice in it, right? So in order to form your own opinion, you must separate yourself from. It's an important process for all teenagers to go through, right? You separate yourself, you kind of oppose, you don't necessarily agree, right? Some teenagers express it differently. Some teenagers are quite passionate about it. They will tell you openly what they think about your opinions, what they think about your rules. And some teenagers will not oppositionally argue with you, but they will kind of bring you to they will kind of start maybe quietly or passively think about their own ideas, think about their own ways, their own kind of approach to life. Okay, again, most of us did not go through that. We're not given that opportunity to go through life forming our own values. So most of us get to their age of 40, right? The wisdom age, 50, 60, right? When we start thinking, wait a minute, what's going on? Somehow I find out that my whole life, things that I used to think were important to me, things that I used to think were significant to me, somehow it's not, right? Many of us go discover various meditational techniques, right? Various integrative practices, right? We start learning more about who we are on a different level, more about our subconscious, more about unconscious, more about the soul functions, right? We start learning that we need to combine our soul with our body components, right? Which is not just body, but also emotions, mind, right? We start figuring out how do we bring harmony to who we are as humans. And that's how we start figuring out and reevaluating our values. If any of you have been at any silent retreats like Vipassana or anything similar, you will understand what I'm talking about. And I went through Vipassana, and it was truly, truly a life-changing, transformational experience, because that was a time when, and I suggest even if you don't get a chance to do this, just take a day off, and just sit quietly, kind of separate yourself from everybody around you, your family, your friends, get in a room, don't make it too light, a little darker, just sit down, breathing in and out, right? They actually have YouTube videos that guide you through the process. Look on YouTube. It's called Vipassana meditation. Absolutely amazing. And you do them and you listen to how to do this quiet meditation. The quietness will get you to figure out, start realizing what are the values that live within you? What are the values that are part of your mind, of your subconscious and your full unconscious? Yes, you will get to that point at a certain moment. If you do it more than one day, people go for Vipassana silent retreats for, I believe there's 4 days, 7 days, 10 days. 10 days is the maximum, is like the best thing to do. But even if you do it, I promise you, if you do it for 1 day, it's going to truly work. It will, you will feel the results of it. So the first step you're going to do is you're going to assess your values, and you're going to start realizing that, whoa, what was happening with me? Why did I do this in my life? And why did I choose that? What was the reason for choosing my, let's say, whatever I do, my profession in life? What was the reason for choosing my family, my spouse, my partner, right? The reason why my children are a certain way. You start understanding. And I want to tell you everything, again, the way we choose our partner, even the children who come to us are in one way or another are associated with certain values we have in our mind. And again, remember, values are the way our soul figures out and brings our mission to life, okay? And every behavior, every single thing we do in life have to do with values, have to do with, you know, connecting to our soul's mission. And that goes through values. So we're actually going to do something practical today. I'm not going to just talk. I'm going to soon transfer my camera, and we're actually going to do a practical exercise of figuring out what are your values, figuring out in different ways. You can also figure out certain values that you don't necessarily, you're going to figure out values that are acquired, that you didn't necessarily reevaluate, that you didn't necessarily choose, right? That you didn't necessarily agree with, but somehow they are, right? I would say one of the simplest examples nowadays still, right? It would be the value of girls or women, right? Wanting to get married. Where does the value come from, right? The value most of the time comes from a societal needs, but a societal needs, remember, children deal with society on a later level, right? Before the age 2 to 3, right? Children become more social beings at the age 2 to 3. Before that, they deal with their parents. Again, parents can be actual parents, mother or father, can be caregivers like parent substitute, it can be babysitters, it can be grandparents, right? In many cultures, grandparents take care of grandchildren, right? So the idea is that children are taken care, children are given values and they acquire simply because they don't know better, right? What do we do as children? We just look at our parents and we learn about the world through the actions, through the ideas, through the action that our parents do, through the ideas that our parents give us and tell us, right? And again, through modeling. And that's how we learn about the value of the world. By the way, money value comes the same way. We learn about the value of money through the way our parents deal or use money to achieve anything in life, right? That was the first, again, subconscious ways. So again, unless you actually went consciously through reevaluating process, the values that are acquired, the values that were part of your childhood that were given to you by your parents will stay with you. Unless you bring them up to light, start reevaluating, start looking from all the sides and saying, you know what? I think, I'm not sure I like this value. I'm not sure I agree with it, okay? A lot of values that you do reevaluate as a teenager, many of you, like I said, when you start rediscovering yourself, rediscovering your soul's mission, as adults, even, excuse me, that happens because you bring it to light. So most of the values that you do reevaluate are most of the time are social values, right? Your ideas, your attitude toward maybe politics, toward some social cause, some social statuses, right? Something that will come to your life, to your face, right? Ideas about children rearing, ideas about families, right? Like I mentioned, children, women, girls are given the notion that they should be getting married, having a family, and having children, since they were little, maybe since their birth, right? As soon as the girl is born, what is the idea? The father starts thinking, oh, let's talk anthropologically speaking, right? Anthropologically speaking, in ye olden days, right? Like my children like to say, right? It used to be, right, before the era of the feminism, before the middle of last century, when women became more upfront in the social life, right? Women will be taken care of, right? The idea was that women have to be taken care of, right? The girl is growing up, has to be taken care of by males, by her father and her brother, right? And then once she gets married, she has to be taken care of by her husband, right? And remember the idea of dowry. Does anybody know what that word still means, right? In many cultures, it's still very, very valid and very relevant. When a woman gets married, her parents promise or take upon themselves to make sure they take care of maybe the living situation, or they help in any financial situation, or they actually give certain things like buying something that nowadays we do as bridal registry, right? Back then used to be something like a dowry, right? I remember when my uncle, right? I remember as a child, right, when my uncle got married, I remember my grandmother talking about it quite openly and very actively about what are the things that his wife will bring and all that stuff, right? Dishes, everything that has to do with the household. So the idea was that every time the girl is born, the father had this subliminal message, so to say, right? This ancestral idea that, oh, I need to start gathering money. I need to start gathering dowry. I need to start preparing my daughter for marriage, right? And remember, the girl would hear about it from her father, from her mother, right? The idea would be, let's give you a good upbringing so you would make a good wife, okay? Let's say nowadays, people don't talk about it openly like that. I mean, I definitely don't do that, but I'm a more of a conscious parenting person, right? I myself have a special education background, so I'm very much into education, into pedagogy, into parenting, right? Did a lot of parenting trainings, did a lot of both learning and teaching, right? So it's very interesting to know that. Now, the idea that nowadays, even though children don't grow up and they're not told openly by their parents that, look, we're talking about daughters, let's say females, right? You are going to grow up and get married and become a wife, right? But one way or another, depending on their cultural background, they're surrounded by it. They're surrounded by social dogmas, social understanding, social expectations, right? That a girl is supposed to grow up, make a beautiful bride, make a wonderful, a good, right? I was talking to my daughter recently about the book Joy Luck Club, if any of you read it, right? About an amazing, amazing book. I recommend to everybody to read it, right? The author comes from a Chinese background, and she talks about her mother always telling her stories of other girls who were good, obedient daughters, right? My other daughter is reading Ella Enchanted, right? Same idea, obedience, right? Females were expected to be obedient. So the value of obedience, the value of marriage, becoming a good wife, or becoming a wife, having a marriage, having a husband, having a family, became an inner value of most females within our society, right? So the value of getting married, a lot of times, and I know a lot of singles, right? Their 20s, their 30s, 35, 40s, they have this inner value that they want to get married, but it's not happening. They're either not attracting, not bringing, not meeting the right person, the right partner, or they feel a bit out of space, or they feel not connected. One way or another, they get through life for quite much later than they were expecting to get married, and they don't get married. They don't understand what's happening. That happens because even though they have an inner ancestral style value of a female or a woman or a girl must be married, must have a husband, you know, that's not the notion in the modern world. Nowadays, remember what I said about girls being born first taking care and being taken care of males, first being taken care of a father, then being taken care of her husband. Now, when we talk about being taken care of, we're talking mostly financially, right? Now, nowadays, women work and they are able to provide for themselves quite well financially. We know women can achieve and can reach such heights where they make so much money, where they're directors and owners of businesses and owners of multi-million-dollar corporations, and they reach really high career or corporate style positions. So they don't really have this conscious, this formed value that, you know, I need a man to take care of me. So what happens is that those two values kind of fight with each other. And what happens is tension gets created. How else do we call it? A block and inhibition, right? Same thing happens with money, right? Again, remember how even I brought the idea of marriage connecting to money, being taken care of? Same thing happens, right? A lot of times women are not able, they make a lot of money. I hear many stories, people come to me, right? And they say, but something happened, the money just goes through. Because they have the value of making a lot of money, they have the value of taking care, they don't have so much value of saving, right? They don't have so much value of being able to save up for further generation. It has been proven sociologically, right, that women are less, women have less savings, they spend money more elaborately than men do. Because remember, ancestrally wise, right, anthropologically wise, it was a man's job to put money aside to take care of their family, of their wives, of their girls, of their daughters, remember? So that's a part of a man's value, again, anthropologically speaking, which means like a hidden part of our unconscious, right? Collective unconscious, what that the Jung psychologist Carl Gustav Jung called, right? Collective unconscious, right? Something that connects us to our ancestors, the way we used to live life within our ancestry, within our past lives. So again, everything is interwoven here. I would like to offer you to do an actual practice. Okay, give me a second. I want to look at Facebook. Doesn't work. Give me a second. I'm gonna transfer. For those of you on Facebook, I'm gonna chat with my camera. For those of you on Instagram, I'm just gonna turn over my camera so you will be able to see what I'm doing. I'm gonna show you what to do and how to do things. Okay. 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 Excellent. Okay. Let's do this. Okay. Okay, those of you on Instagram, again, you will just be able to see it like this, yeah. And if you need to, you turn your camera the way you need to see what I'm doing. I'm actually inviting you again, because this is a practical part of our work today. I'm inviting you to actually actively do this with me. Of course, you can watch it and just do it later on. But I'm just going to let you know right away that if you don't do it now, it might be harder. Do you know why? Simple one word, resistance. Okay. So definitely I'm inviting you to do this with me. Okay. Let's start doing it. Okay. I want to explain something to you. I want to show you first and foremost the idea, the structure of what we're doing today. Okay. What we're going to do today, we are going to undergo an important situation. Okay, we're going to take a piece of paper. You're going to divide it into 4 parts. Okay, you have first, you can use a pen. We're not doing any neurographica. For those of you who don't know what neurographica is this amazing art therapist style. We like to call it art coaching integrative method that I usually use, and I'm a certified instructor in, and most people come to me for that. But today it's a bit different. We're not doing any neurographic drawing. We're actually going to do writing and brainstorming. I want to show you. I want to show you how do you connect. First of all, I'm going to help you. I'm going to kind of show you, explain to you how you can discover your values. Okay. And remember, since I'm showing it to you, I may go a bit faster, but it's very important to remember that that I will, all of you, those of you watching me on Facebook or Instagram, you can always access this video again on my profile. or you can go again to my YouTube channel and I will upload it to my YouTube channel. Okay, so you can always watch it again, put it maybe on slow mode if you need to, pause and stuff, and do it again further, deeper. Right, suggest you do this every month. Okay, those of you who are part of my who watch the financial expansion, this would be great to do every month as when you do your financial expansion, because this will connect you to the expansion of money, to the money you're planning to grow. Okay, your financial growth. Okay, so this is the paper where we're going to work, but I want to show you what we're doing here. Okay, the structure of our work. Guess what I'm drawing now? I am drawing something we call the quadrant, right? If you haven't yet, please welcome to come and watch the Meta-Modern quadrants or Meta-Modern squares video that I did on Tuesday, again, available on my profile on Facebook, not Instagram. Didn't get to do it on Instagram because again, it involved presentation. But you can access it on my YouTube channel. It's a great way to bring this philosophical idea of any topic, any idea being broken into 4 parts. Now, let's see what's happening with our understanding, okay? What are we doing now? Okay, the structure here goes like this. How do you assess your values, okay? We're going to do, I'm going to give you a minute or 2 for each part, for each section, and you're going to answer the following questions, okay? Think about stuff or things, activity, anything that comes to your mind, emotions, anything, mostly activities, okay? Mostly things you would like to do or you want to do, okay? 4 parts, okay? The first part will be something that I want to do, but I don't need to, okay? The second part would be something that I need to do, but I don't want to, okay? I hope you're not getting too confused. This is I want, but I don't need. This is I need, but I don't want, right? I'm going to give this allegories to you. Those of you, again, who watch the Bogoban videos, you know what I'm talking about. Okay, this is related to the way child, right? A preteen child, what does they do? They only do what they want to do. They don't do what they don't like to do things they need to do, okay? They only want to do what they want to do. This is a teenager where they have already chores and they have responsibilities. So their motto is, I need to do something, but I really don't want to, okay? They're mostly forced to do certain things, forced to follow. Remember, they're forced to follow certain family values, right? That they may not necessarily agree with, okay? Now let me take a marker. I realize you may not be able to see it. This marker is a Lana. Give me a second. Let me find my new marker. Okay. I buy my markers by boxes. Those of you who are familiar with the neurographic method and are a fan of neurographic, you know what I'm talking about, right? I need markers by. Okay. So again, this will kind of be similar to the child development. This is a teenage stage of development, right? Okay. Over here we have I want and I need. Okay. Okay. Remember, this is I want, but I don't need to. This is I need, but I don't want to. Over here, I want and I need. What is it that you like, that you want and you need? And over here, you will put something that called I neither want nor need. Okay. Okay, so this will be the 4 parts, okay? I just brought you, remember, this is like an adult, right? Adults are more aware, so they work with what they want. They really want everything. They really need everything, right? And this is a wise person, right? We used to call them elders, but nowadays you don't have to be an elder to become a wise person, to get to this part of wisdom where you start understanding that you really don't need or want, you really don't want or need anything, okay? And you can choose certain things I want to do, but I don't need to, certain things I need to do, even if I don't want to, and certain things I both want and need, okay? So let's do this, okay? Remember, quadrants work like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. This is a sequence, okay? So step 1, in the first section, I'm going to give you now 1 or 2 minutes, and we're going to write, I want, but I don't need, okay? So what are you going to write are certain actions, certain ideas, or certain things you like, you want to do, or you like to do in life, but you don't necessarily need it. Okay, this is very important. Okay. Mostly, I would say this has to do with activities. What do you do? What did you do or planning to do? Something that you want to, but you don't necessarily need, okay? Here we're going to write, I need, but I don't want, okay? Certain things that you need to do, okay? A simplest example would be going to work. For most people, going to work is, oh, I need to do it, but I don't really want to, right? Why do you need to do it? To earn money, right? Not everybody, right? A lot of people who love going to work, right? Who are happy workaholics, right? Over here, we're going to write, what do I want and need, okay? What do you want and need? Money. Money would be a great example, right? Money, I both want money and I need money, right? What do I need to write? Again, I'm not going to write for myself, but again, most people, the idea would be maybe doing stuff that you don't need. Like some people don't like going shopping, but they need to do it because otherwise there is no food, right? Stuff like that. So over here, the last thing will be to write, I don't want and I don't need, okay? What is it that you don't want and you don't need? But certain things you do, okay? Again, when you write this list, you have to actually see the activities that you, A, did in the past, B, are planning to do, and C, are actually doing now, right? Maybe, I don't know, anything that comes to your mind. I don't want to and I don't need to, right? It's a great way, again, to figure out your values that are part of you, but you really don't agree with doing it and you don't even need it. Okay, I was clear on this. Let me check, make sure. I don't see any comments. I don't see any comments here. So I'm assuming you understand what I'm talking about. Okay, let's see. Give me a second. Let me refresh my Facebook page to see. Okay, excellent. You see, I want to make sure. Okay, this is what we're going to do. I'm going to be putting, trying to think, should I be doing 2:44. I'm gonna give you 1 minute for each work, okay? If you need more time, if you want to do this more thoroughly, I suggest you do this after the session, after today's live session. Just sit down and continue writing your list. It's truly an amazing, amazing kind of practice to do. Okay, ready, set, go. We're going to start with number 1, okay? By the way, as you're writing number 1, you may have other ideas that will come up to you and you're going to be like, oh, I this thing, but I don't want to do it, but I need it. So that's what you do. You can switch your structures, okay? Start writing activities. Again, focus on what do you want to do. I'm going to give you a minute, okay? Ready, set, go. Sometimes you will have certain words that will fit other categories. You're welcome to write them. Yes, they can, they can kind of be shared. Okay, a minute has passed. Again, this is very quick, just to give you an idea. Please go ahead and do this thoroughly at home, okay? Let's go to the next one. Let's try to focus on the section that says, I need to, but I don't really want to. Okay, see what comes up. The second minute has passed for the second section. I want to note something, okay, since it came up to me. Emotions, be very aware of your emotions. If emotions are coming up, start understanding the value that you give to your emotions. For example, I'm going to give you an example, right? I kind of jumped from this section to the last section. I don't want and I don't need, because an idea came to me, getting mad over here when I need, and I realized I don't need to get mad and I don't want to get mad. It belongs to the section I don't want and I don't need, getting mad. And then another emotion came to me, being angry. Okay, it's very important to start reevaluating the emotion, your attitude toward emotions, okay? Because most of the time, way we approach emotions, or more, I should say more appropriately, the way we express emotions are given to us by, again, our caregivers, our parents. Most of the time that was, they are not ready or they don't want to deal with negative emotions. And we were given this notion that negative emotions are not okay. So we go through life thinking that, even though what happened with us was that we were given the kind of the message that it's not okay to express your emotions in a negative way, meaning in a way that disturbs the social surrounding, right? How do you remember any instance where you were in a social surrounding and the child would be crying? How did it make you feel? What about when the child would be screaming? How did that make you feel? Were you ever in a situation, in a social situation, where you saw something aggressive happening, like somebody beating somebody up, right? Somebody fighting, like even boys or children fighting, sometimes girls fight, right? How did you feel when you saw that? Was that a pleasant, right? And again, those are the notions we receive from the society, from our surrounding, that expressing yourself in a negative way, expressing yourself in a way that will bring chaos or kind of threat to society, right? If people are fighting and you're around, you may be a part of that fight, you may get hurt, right? So that's a threat. And that kind of gets generalized to the idea that any negative expressions are not welcome. And the child's understanding when that happens is that my negative emotions are not accepted, are not welcome. I should stop expressing my negative emotions. And later on, it turns into, it's not okay to express negative emotions. Okay. Now, it's important to reevaluate that approach, to start understanding with what a lot of current psychologists teach, right? That, personality psychologists, happiness psychologists, right? Integrative psychologists, that any emotions we express, they're all our emotions. They're all a part of who we are, and they're all important in order for us to function as fully balanced human beings, including in accepting and allowing to give space and place within ourselves for any negative emotions, okay? So when you do this list, again, I suggest you continue doing this list at home. When you do this list, you have any negative emotions that are coming up, what I would suggest is actually writing them down. If you're not sure even which category, you can write them down separately and just start going through them and start thinking, what is this emotion? Do I want this emotion, right? Do I need it? Do I want and need it? Or does it go in the category? And I'm going to tell you right away that most of your negative emotions will go into this category because you learned that you don't want it and you don't need it. You are taught that you should not be expressing your negative emotions. And I want to kind of argue that idea. I want to kind of not argue, but I want to bring this for a reevaluation with you. I want you to figure out, I want you to think differently. Do you agree with that notion? Okay, start reevaluating, start thinking, do I really, being angry, is it really, I don't want and I don't need, are you sure? What if something happened and you can't express, you can't be angry? So anger is an important, right? So try to see if you can transfer it. Again, reevaluate, get to know this emotion, get to understand the benefits of the need to feel angry. And maybe in certain ways, being wanting to feel angry. Okay, this is very important to start understanding, to start reevaluating. Again, not just your ideas, not just your actions, which you already did in life, what you're planning to do, but also your emotions, okay? Let's continue. I'm going to give you a minute and let's get to know the section I want and I need, okay? I think this is going to be very popular with you. Okay, 1 minute has passed. Now, remember, since there's a lot of words will be similar to the other sections, what I want you to do after our session today, to go through each section and reevaluate. Do you really want it, but don't need it? Are you sure that you only want it, but don't need it, right? Let's say certain things like money will be both in I want to, right? Actually, I didn't put money in I want to. There you go. You see how the subconscious will let you know what your inner values are, okay? I put money in what I need. I put money in what I want and need. But is money something that I only want but don't necessarily need? You see, I don't agree with that because it's not a part of my list. And I'm actually quite surprised to figure it out. I'm like, wait a minute. And I want to tell you, I want to write it down, but I'm quite connected to my body, right? I do a lot of biodynamics. I do a lot of connection, body integrated activities. And I want to tell you, I want to write the word money, and my hand, my left hand and my right hand are like truly resisting that. So that means that's not a part of my value. That's not a part of what I really believe in. Okay, so that's something, again, figure it out. Let's go in what I don't want and I don't need. Think about your actions, think about your ideas, think about your emotions. What would come into this category? Was there anything, thinking about action, did you do anything in your life where you're thinking about and you're like, I didn't really want to and I didn't really need to? But write it down. This is how you will discover your values that were acquired by you on a subconscious level, but you either never evaluated in it or you acquired other values that are opposing of it. So at this point, you look at those actions or those ideas and you're like, no, I realize, and again, this will be great conscious practice for you to understand that certain things you did in life or even planning to do, You don't really want and you don't really need. So why are you doing it? Why did you do it? Or why are you planning to do it? And that's how you will discover the values behind it, okay? 1 minute starts now. Yeah. Okay, 1 minute has passed. Look at the words that you made. Start understanding what are they about. I want to bring you one, okay? For some reason, that was toward the end. And I tried to switch it to another section, but it's not happening. It's like, again, it keeps telling me, no, it belongs here. I have something that I wrote, say my opinion. I'm so surprised. Really? I don't want to say my opinion. I don't need to say my opinion. That brings in an acquired belief, an acquired value. Okay, by the way, our beliefs are based on our values. So all of those, limited beliefs are part of the values, okay? So that brings me to certain things. That's something I have to figure out. Again, my value, saying my opinion. What do I think about that value? And as much as I would want to put it into, I want to say my opinion, right? Or maybe even I want and I need to say my opinion. For some reason, I have a strong feeling, and this is very important. Start connecting, start connecting to this feeling, to this inner feeling that you have, where you're like, you know what? This is it. This is what I feel. This is what it becomes. Saying my opinion, and you start thinking, why don't I want to, or why don't I need to say my opinion, right? And it started bringing me to this acquired value in my childhood where my opinions were not welcome, right? Notice a lot of times adults do that. They don't, unless you're like in an actual, some kind of, like school functioning, adults don't allow children to express their opinion. Adults don't allow children to kind of participate or contribute with their opinion, right? Or even if they listen to the opinion, they don't integrate that opinion into a daily activity. Okay, so the children, a lot of times children, unless they already get born with inner characteristics of being opinionated, being, those of you who know I'm talking about, those of you who learned about Badzi with me, the 5 elements, those who are more metal, those who are more water signs, water element birth, right? They will be very opinionated, right? Earth elements may have some opinion, but not so opinionated. But metal and water elements are very opinionated. And even if they told, shut up, or we don't want to hear you, they will grow up and become opinionated. They're very strong personalities. But let's say children who already get born with innate, more introverted characteristics, when they are told, we don't want your opinion, we don't want to, we don't care for it, it's not your job, you're just a child, they actually start believing and they take it as their inner value. And that was just an example. Look at your certain, the word you wrote over here. I don't want to and I don't need to. I have another word I want to tell you, agree, and I haven't underlined it. The value of agreeing, okay? Those of you who never read it, but just go ahead and read. There's a movie, but the movie is not the same. Read the book called Ella Enchanted. It's a modern version, kind of story. Well, not so modern, right? It's not current days. It's more like also like a few centuries ago time during castles and princess. But it's a different retelling of the story of Cinderella. And the idea was that when Ella, right, her name was Ella, when she was born, different angels and different fairies came to give her wishes. And one of the fairies came, and she wanted to give her a wish, and then Ella started crying. And what the fairy said is like, stop it, stop crying, stop. Listen, you have to become obedient. And saying to her, you have to become obedient was like giving her a blessing. But we all know that's a blessing, right? So as a result, she became very, let me actually turn my camera. Hello. She became very obedient, right? And that's why it's called Ella Enchanted, because she was enchanted to follow through. And that was the idea of her becoming a Cinderella type of a person, right? Whatever she was told, she must do it. That was the kind of the setting, the enchantment that she was put upon by her fairy godmother, okay? So that's an important part to kind of keep in mind, that a lot of us, right? And that's an allegory, that a metaphorical understanding of how a lot of us grow up, given the notion that your opinion doesn't matter, you must agree. And in many cases with Ella, it was not just agreeing, but also doing, right? With Ella, it was you must agree and you must do what being told. And she had to follow, even though she didn't really want to, but she kind of had the need to follow that idea. And that's what she did. She followed the idea of, if I'm being told, and again, as a child, you first think, if I'm being told I must agree or I must do, when you grow up as a teenager and then as adults, you keep this in mind, right? Remember, think about certain people in powers of what? Authority. How do you deal with authority? Do you agree with them? Do you follow them? You feel the need to, just doing what you're being told, right? Or do you feel the need that, I can make my own opinion. I don't have to follow. And thinking, let's say I'm going to give you a question. If an authority person told you to do something and you don't do it, how do you feel about it? Okay. Certain people will feel guilty. Certain people will be scared. They will feel fear. Certain people will feel spunkiness, like, let's dare. You dare me to do something and I'm daring you not to do it, right? They get their energy that way, oppositional, right? Fire elements, revolutionaries, right? And certain people would be like, okay, I understand their authority, but if I don't do it, nothing will happen. My life will not end. I will continue. My family will stay the same, and people act like that at work, right? In corporate setting, right? They say, if I don't do what my boss is telling me to do, I'll still be okay. I come home and, I may not necessarily get like promotions and stuff, as long as I get paid, right? So there's different motivation gets involved. And that again has to do with our goals. Now, let's get to the second part, to the main part of what we need to do. You know what? I'm going to keep the main part. I'm going to connect with you tomorrow. I'm going to give you another open session tomorrow. I want you to work more with the sections, okay? Work more on the section. Figure out your values. They will be very important. Tomorrow, I'm going to come up for a live session. I'm going to post later what time it will be. I am going to give you more explanations about how you can take the goal. Please, by tomorrow, go through this section, work on your values, figure out what your values are. It's very important. And number two, if you didn't form yet, watch the Monday's video and please form a financial goal. Form a goal where you will actually, work with, what is the financial growth, okay? Watch the video, I give you details on how to form your financial goal, okay? And when you come tomorrow, I'm gonna teach you how to, I'm thinking now, I'm gonna, when I give you more information about the course, maybe I will postpone the course. I'm gonna see what happens. By tomorrow, I will definitely let you know. Maybe I will do part of the course, an open session, right, where I give you more information. And then later on, I'll do more closed sections. I'll give you more information tomorrow. One way or another, do the 4 sections today, form your financial goal, and we're going to meet tomorrow where I will give you further a second part of today's session. How do you connect your goal with the values? Remember, in order to do that, I want you to work with your values, okay? Wishing you a beautiful day ahead, wishing you a beautiful night ahead for some of you. I'm looking forward to seeing you tomorrow. Goodbye.